Hi guys, it's Joy, and I'm doing my part 2 to the video I put up the other day. Unfortunately, there is a part 2. If you haven't seen the first video, this one isn't going to make as much sense. So make sure and go check out that first video. And that first video is something to the effect of, the title is My Boyfriend Tried to Kill Me. I'll put a link in the cards, so go find that one. Watch that first. That was my first long-term relationship, my first kind of, real boyfriend. And what happened to me in that relationship. And if you guys have been following my story, you know I'm chronically sick and I'm somebody that comes from, unfortunately, a lot of abuse. Whether or not that's physical, mental, emotional, so forth and so on. I grew up in it, and then it was in my relationships. And I had friendships that were even really bad. Not to say I was perfect, because I had to learn a lot about who I was and the way I grew up and the patterns that I took on. And, sometimes what I learned is there were certain things I did that were habits I picked up from those people that were damaging. But I can't even say what I've been doing. I've been going through this natural process. I'm not trying to, but many repressed memories have been coming up. And those of you who've been watching me, I've been kind of detailing this. And I had two repressed memories kind of around the same time come up, and fairly sure they're linked. And the first one was I had just completely blocked out that my boyfriend, I thought was going to end my life, unfortunately. And what happened there, and how scared I was, and how unsafe that situation was with him. And I was young and naive. I was being used. I had no idea. I'm really lucky that I got out of that situation in one piece. But it didn't stop there. It was years of bad boyfriends. Not all of them, but most of them were pieces of crap. They weren't all abusive, though. I do want to, make sure and say that it's not that they all were that, but they weren't good. Most of them weren't good people to me. And I think for a long time, and this is what happens with women, we're gaslit and brainwashed to believe we're crazy. It's all of our fault. And not to say I didn't have issues, but I had issues from growing up in trauma and abuse. And I had to work through that. And I had to understand, I was a target for these people because of my situations, because of chronic illness issues, because of my situations with not having stability. It was a perfect target for predatory behavior. But I also had to see how I was attracting them into my life because I equated what they were doing with love and care because of what I grew up around. So this repressed memory of this boyfriend, which go see that video, I would have tried to put it all in one, but it would have been too long, came up. And it was weird because I was like, how did I forget that? And just knowing that you guys are only the second persons I've ever talked to about this. I never talked about it. Why did I sweep that under the rug? I never even told a friend back then. It kind of blows my mind that I kept quiet and forgot about it. And I remember that night, I thought I wasn't going to get out of it. I thought I wasn't going to be here anymore. But then another repressed memory came up. It came up earlier, over this past weekend. I tried to film this video in the boyfriend run. This is like the 5th time filming because I was so emotional about it. And what I've learned is, if I'm going to put stuff out like this to you guys, I want to be in the calmest state possible. And I'm not saying it's bad to upload and show your emotions and all that. I'm just telling you guys how I am trying to operate. I'm trying to operate differently, going forward on this channel. And so, also, I don't know if I said this in another video, if you guys are going to see this. This is one of my new sweater dresses. I love this. I love this so much. It's supposed to be off the shoulder. I'm just barely able to have it off my shoulder comfortably, and you can see my nude bra strap showing, but it's hard for me to move my arms, but I absolutely love these. This is my favorite brand of sweater, anything. They have such pretty stuff. If you see me looking up here, I'm looking in the monitor because it sparkles and it's a pretty teal color. I didn't used to be a super fan of teal. It's weird. When I was younger, my favorite color was blue. And then I went through this I'm really cool phase, and it was black for a couple of years. And then I went into my girly phase that never ended, and it was nothing but pink. And but over the years, I've gotten into teals and pastels quite a bit. Does that happen with you guys? Your color preferences have changed as you've gotten older? But my favorite color is still sparkle because I classify that as a color. Because this is a sad video, but I'm going to try to say some fun things in there. But I think I found the source. I think I found the source of how it came to be that all my relationships, or the majority of them, were, if not bad, they were abusive. I will say the only one that hasn't been abusive or really bad has been roommate. And we've had our issues, stuff that it's not anybody's business. I'm not going to talk about. But he's a good person, and he has helped me and taken care of me this long. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? And I think he's very well intended. And we both hurt each other, not meaning to. But he is nothing compared to the people I'm going to talk about. So what's hard for me is the stuff I have coming up. This video would probably be indicative of something where you'd look at me and go, hey, Joy, why not go to therapy? So I've said this in the other videos. Can't really afford therapy right now. I need a therapist who understands chronic health, my past, and mental health for somebody on YouTube. That is a unicorn of a person to find. And I'm sure they are not cheap. I tried to work with a couple people, but I found a couple people, but the insurance wouldn't take and it was too expensive. So that's it. I'm just going to kind of tell you the process I'm going through, as I can't afford insurance. Well, thankfully I'm now on Rumi's insurance, which I'm very, very grateful for. So I do have insurance now, but even with insurance, there's a lot of stuff I don't have access to or I can't afford. Why is that going off? Okay, sorry guys, hold on. This is my pewter. Where's the volume? Okay, down boy. Oh, and it's on my straightener, and that's on. That's not good. All right, so sorry if you see me tugging at this. I'm going to hope that it stays okay. I love this. This is so pretty. I just love the sparkles and the teal. I feel so happy. Maybe that's why I picked this one out for this video, so it wouldn't be so sad. But so it's really interesting, though, because over the years, probably since my early mid-30s hit, we're talking like 32-ish, really getting sick and having to sit still and not do anything, all of this stuff has been coming up, right? And especially the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement really opened my eyes. I have so many stories. If you guys like my story times, I can always do more. What sucks is a lot of my story times don't have evidence because it was during a time where we didn't have cell phones or the technology wasn't as advanced as it is now to have the kind of proof that people could easily just take and get in the moment. But that's also my generation. We were the last generation that didn't have everything documented online unless we put it out there. Okay, so let me take you guys back a little bit. So my two parents were married for a time. I have an older sibling. I do not talk to almost anyone in my family, and that is by choice. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, and if you watch my videos, you guys know, but the reason is either they are not safe people because of my illness, or they have gone to everyone in the family and told them lies and horrible things about me to have everyone distance themselves and not believe I'm sick and not want to help me or want anything to do with me. And therefore will end up, if I do end up talking to them, they will gaslight me that it's all in my head, even though one of the top cardiologists in the country is my doctor and has diagnosed me. And they're not safe people. So I don't have any contact with them, just so you guys kind of understand. But I know you guys have heard me talk about one parent quite a bit. We're going to talk about the other. And I think, I'm getting emotional, so I have to be careful, and I'm going to try to stay calm. I didn't realize how much this person shaped my relationships, and I think it's hitting me. Don't worry, I think there's going to be a happy ending to this. So if you want to stick with this, lots of trigger warnings and stuff, and I'm going to try to, talk as eloquently as I can. When I was 4 years old, my mom and dad got divorced. I remember they fought in front of their kids. I remember I heard the B word for the first time because my dad said that to my mom, and I heard the word that starts with D and then another word that starts with H. It's not as much of a common curse word. I don't want YouTube to be in trouble with me, but I learned those curse words at a very young age because I would see them argue back and forth. So that was some of my earliest memories, were their arguments and them interacting. They didn't fight often in front of me and my sibling. In fact, my sibling probably won't even remember it, but my sibling either represses stuff, or I've also noticed this about my sibling. They have I don't even say selective memory, because I'll tell them something, they'll say it didn't happen, they don't remember that never happened, but then it'll turn into a justification for the fact that it happened and admitting that it happened, right? So it's there's nobody. It just sucks. There's nobody to talk to. Like I really wish I could talk to my sibling about this, and I've like been on the fence sometimes about it, but that person is not safe for me either, unfortunately. It makes me so sad, because these are people I love so much that don't love me back the same way or treat me with any sort of human decency or respect. And I've had to just accept that's what it is. But I always thought my dad just played a passive role in my life. And even though he did, but he's done some really crappy things when I would try to get close or let him in, something came up that I couldn't believe. Like, I couldn't believe A, I blocked out, and B, I couldn't believe happened in the impact it had on me. And sorry, I'm getting anxious. Having to see what that did to me. I remember at 4 years old, my grandparents said they were going to come get me and my sister, and we were going to go to this place called Worlds of Fun. It's an amusement park. So excited. And I was 4 going on 5, I think. Or was I 5 going on 6? This was a long time ago, so the timing might be a little bit messed up. I was still in Catholic preschool. Pre-kindergarten is what they called it. I think that would have been like 4 or 5. And I remember I went downstairs and I saw a bunch of boxes. And my parents, in front of me, they both let me be aware, your father and I are getting divorced, and we don't want you children to have to see your dad move out, so your grandparents are taking you to the amusement park. We didn't fully understand what that meant. I think I was 4 and my sibling was 6. I will never understand why they did that way. By the way, I remember that one is, this is hard. One of the greatest childhood memories I have was when my grandparents took us that day. They spent all day with us there, because I don't have a ton with like parental figures because of how both my parents were, unfortunately. I had some really awesome grandparents on one side. The other side, just, they were, at least to us, they were crap. But not necessarily crap, they didn't care. They didn't really interact. It's a lot of like, on holidays, oh, I love you so much. Oh, you're so great. But they don't care about you whatsoever and won't lift a finger for you and don't want much to do with you outside a holiday. But I had a set of grandparents that were awesome. Unfortunately, I lost one to pancreatic cancer when I was really little. Yeah, I think it was actually that same year. There's a lot of loss for a 5-year-old. A death, and this was somebody that watched me every day. Was one of my grandfathers, and he was the only one in the family that was weird like me and that was spiritual like me. He believed in UFOs. I'll never forget. I think it was like in 2014 maybe. There was a big bookshelf in our in my grandma's basement, and I went and looked, and I had a little emotional breakdown because I saw that my grandpa had the first edition of one of von Daniken's books. He's like the father of the ancient aliens theory, and knowing that my grandfather was really into that, and I'm the only one like that, and I learned that we were really similar, and he left when I was 5. So, sorry, gonna be a hard video, guys. That was the last man I ever felt safe around. Oh, this is hard. Okay. Didn't think this was going to be this hard, but I thought this was important to share. I'm going to try to keep it together. Sorry. Trauma responses are not fun. This is why I've refilmed this video, and this is why you guys might not see this one. Many videos you guys don't see. Keep it together. Be a robot. Okay, so, the divorce was really messy between the two. And I believe in the process of the divorce, somewhere in there, I lost my grandpa. That was really hard for me, being that little. And I lost my dad because of the divorce. And, sorry, a lot of stuff, a lot of suppressed stuff. I realize now why I have attracted or justified unsafe people in my life. So the divorce was really bad. Lawyers were involved. They were both fighting for me and my sister. I should say my sibling. My mom would allege that my dad had mental illness of some sort. By the way, I've heard things, but I don't know. And because I've had people speculate about me, I don't like to do that with people. But I'll tell you what happened. My mom started tape recording her conversations with my father. And in the process of doing that, she would tell me and my sister that he is not a safe person and that we were not safe with him. Yet, because of the divorce, we had to go see him every other weekend. This is not fun to talk about. I don't think the baby boomers, I'm not talking about the good ones. Hi, good ones, hi. Two of my best friends are boomers, and they were wonderful people. But y'all know the turds in your punch bowl, just like we got a lot of millennial turds in our punch bowl, right? I don't think they really appreciate how much trauma and damage was done to our generation from all the mass divorces and them not knowing how to handle it and not dealing with their emotions. Because this is what happened. My mom started recording their conversations, and remember old telephones back in the day when you could, like, if somebody was talking on the phone, on a house phone, you could pick up another house phone and hear the conversation? We're going back to that, right? We're talking late 80s, early 90s. So my mom was on the phone with my dad, recording him. And I just remember walking in there and seeing the recording, and I would hear him. And I don't remember how. I don't know. I don't know if my mom had it on speaker. Did we have speakerphone back then? I just know I knew my mom was talking to my dad, and I could hear it, and it was being recorded. And I got excited because for some reason I wanted to talk to my dad. So I got on the phone and I said, "Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad." And my dad was going off on my mom. I don't know what about. I don't remember. I was 5. Here's what I do remember. My dad told my mom, by the way, I was saying, "Hi, Dad." He could hear me. Please understand. My father could hear me and knew I was on the phone. And my father went into a story. He told my mom a story. I don't know if I can't even say it's a story. I think that's how my young mind processed it. But my dad said he was saying a lot of bad things to my mom, threatening things. And he said, the next time I go get the girls, I'm going to take them and drive them across the 291 bridge. That is a bridge somewhat near where I live that goes over, why am I getting so upset? The Missouri River. And he is going to, he's going to run the car off the bridge and he's going to drown us. And she'll never find us. And he went into a lot of detail when I was on the phone. I know that sounds bad, but the part I want to talk about, hold on, it gets worse. This went on for about 5 minutes, at least. I mean, I was a kid. I don't even think I knew how to tell time. I'm just telling you how I remember it. I don't even know that I had a lot of emotion about it when I was young. I was just like, this is weird. Like, I didn't understand. And you would think my mother would have yelled at him to stop or like forcibly got me off the phone and told me to go to my room and, do something else. The whole time, my mom, what I remember, and I don't want to say the wrong things, but what I remember is she was trying to tell my dad, and I don't want to say his name, so I'll just tell her, I'll say Dad for him. She would go, Dad, your daughter's listening. Do you hear your daughter? In this very strange, weird, almost mimicking tone. Now, you can't quote me on any of this because I was a child and I don't have access to any of these records. What I do know is there was an agreement for a while where every other weekend my father took us. Those were fun and very unsafe trips. because there was almost no supervision. This is so hard to talk about. My mother made it very apparent to me and my sibling, your father is not a safe person, and that he is going to end you. And when we would do the pickups and the drop-offs, many times there would be violence. We're talking breaking glass, breaking doors, breaking windshields, kids being drugged or pulled at. One parent's pulling it at one and one's pulling at the other. And I was still really young. I was like 4, 5, 6. And it was that age where you're still attached to your mom and you don't want to sleep away from her. It's an instinct. And my dad, he didn't care because it was all about hurting my mom, from what I remember. And I'm just telling you from my young mind back then. I was an adult, so I don't know. So twice a month for like 2 years of my young life, I would get in a car with a man and know that I was never going to see my mom again, and that I was going to die that day or that weekend. And I lived with that at like 4, 5, 6 years old. It was to the point where my mom had to talk to my teachers and principal, and we had to have like contingency plans, like in case my dad showed up because of his behavior. I don't understand how do parents do that to their kids. I have more compassion and sympathy for my mom because I think she was trying to keep us safe, but and I don't even think it's that my dad is a super unsafe person. I think he was psychologically trying to mess with my mom and hurt her. Because he never laid a finger on me or my sister, like not even for punishment that I remember. So I'm not trying to paint him as that. But that's what I knew of a father figure. And this is why I start getting emotional about my grandfather, a guy that I lost when I was young and technically didn't know that well, but that was the last parental figure I had that I felt safe around that was a male. And I'm mad. I'm mad at both parents. I'm mad at both parents. How they both use their children. My mother should have gotten me off the phone. She should have gotten me off the phone, and she used it. Here's what don't quote me on this. Hey, if somebody can look up the court case, let me know. Because when it comes to police records or court cases this old, I have tried. And what I've gotten is that stuff wasn't online, those records are gone, or it's going to take forever to pull them up because they're in some cave, like underground cave and storage. I've gotten the runaround for stuff, so don't quote me on this because I'm telling you from my brain of being like 5 and 6 years old. But I remember they went to court. It was really bad. My mom won sole custody, but it was more than that. The weekend visits stopped with my father. We did one weekend visit with my father and my stepmother and her family. My stepmother was a witch to me and my sister, but let me say my stepmother's children, so my stepsisters, the nicest people in the world to us. I still think they're wonderful people. And well, 2 of them are gone now. It's really unfortunate, but they've always been so kind to me and I'm so grateful. I don't think they knew how their mother treated us. This is so hard to talk about. So much stuff. But there was a person that was there. We were told it was a nurse. The way it was explained to me and my sibling was, this is a nurse that's going to just watch over everything to make sure that everybody's safe. And I knew that this was court ordered, that my father, the only way he could see me was through this. We spent one day there, and I think I didn't even know one day. I think we spent some time there. And the person I remember, nice person, just some lady that sat in the corner reading magazines, just kind of hanging out. And then I didn't see my father for like it was like 3 years maybe. My father just stopped trying altogether because he didn't want to have to have a court appointed, I think they called it a court appointed monitor, I think. But again, I'm just giving you my young brain, and I already have memory issues. And then my dad stopped. My dad said he didn't want to see us under those conditions. So he didn't. Now, I think what happened was my mother had recorded conversations and she played that. And I believe part of what happened was the judge had heard the recorded conversations where my dad was saying these things in front of me. And that is what got his privileges with us revoked quite a bit. I do not know the details. Nobody went into details with me. I remember that I did not have to testify about it, but my sister did. And I feel really bad for her because I think she would have been 7 or 8, I believe. And I think she had to go, and I wish I could talk to her about it, but she had to go on the stand. And I think she had to say who she wanted to live with. Like, what a nightmare. And my sister was close. My sibling was close with my dad. And my mom and my sibling throughout their lives had a lot of issues as a result of that, because I think my sibling did not believe and was not going to buy into the idea my dad was unsafe. But I knew better. But I was the youngest and nobody cared, nobody believed me. I don't know how 2 people can do that to their kids. But the fact that that situation with my first boyfriend came up, and you guys have heard stories from me. Like, I've talked about a story with a boyfriend that had guns that was very scary. And somehow, for a long time, I equated the abuse I've gone through in my life, starting with him, until I started to see, nope, this has been more than one person. How did I not see these things or suppress them? The fact that it was my first long-term relationship. Holy crap. And how did I not see it for so long? It's like I blocked it out. Oh, it's really hard. This is heavy to talk about, y'all. Not that I gotta tell y'all, because you're listening to it. If you're still here, if you're not, I don't blame you. So this is my story of, I think I finally nailed the start and the core of why I have attracted and allowed bad relationships, and why I have been a target for predatory people. Which is exactly why I've used my platform to speak about women's issues and predatory issues, and talked about Onision and Daddy 05. Let me tell you the aftermath. What's really sad is my dad gave up after that. And I think he couldn't fight the evidence, whatever was there. And my mom, she decided to regress into like a rebellious teenager. There was one husband, came and went after a couple of years. He was fairly nice. There were issues, but fairly nice. And then there was a bully that groomed me for many years. And he is still there. Still around children, doing what he does. I've tried to talk to my family about it. They don't want to hear it. Either they don't believe me or they'll admit that it happened, but it's not that big a deal. Oh, men do that. Men speak to 11, 12, 13-year-old girls about sex nonstop and admit they want to have sex with them. Not that big a deal. So says my family. And I know why. They do it out of convenience. They have to justify these behaviors so they can use one another and not feel guilty about their behaviors. Like, it's all very transparent to me. So they have to demonize me, and this is how that works. Again, they're very unhealthy, unsafe people for me to be around. Stepfather never touched me, as far as I remember, as far as I'm aware. But I realize now, between what my dad did and what my stepdad did, I realize how much that shaped me. And I'm angry, and I'm hurt, and I feel like my life was a lot harder than what it needed to be. All because the men in my life and the parental figures in my life didn't protect me like they should have. I had a grandparent who really tried, really good to me in some ways, but then would just do horrific things and stab me in the back to where it would end my life, literally. This is a pattern with this person, but they also did a lot of good. I had a lot of mixed emotions about this person. And they would try to keep everything together. My mother was horrible. Every day for a couple hours, it was screaming fits. We're talking some type of extreme mental illness that she is never going to, that she never would have gotten help for, and we tried. And I don't even know if it's mental illness so much as it's not understanding how to deal with your stress, anxiety, and emotions, to where she's just a raging lunatic. Every morning we woke up to screaming, and we walked to the bus stop crying for years. And every day when the person got home, they would scream, and whatever happened that day or whatever happened in their life, they would blame on me. My sibling would be gone because they were smart, but I was too young, so I would get blamed. And then everything is my fault. And what happened was, once my mom got custody, she just stopped wanting to be a mom, and I was left alone all the time. All the time. And there were no more kid activities. There were no more fun. The only kid activities we would go out to dinner. But we ate super unhealthy food, so that was kind of a given. But that was it. There were no movies. There were no fun kid activity things. And it goes back further. I remember when I was 4, before all this happened, one night my mom let me and my sister know that my dad was going to blow up the house, got us, we were in our pajamas, got us out of bed, put us in the car, ran inside, asked what do we want, and got all of her as many treasure belongings as she could. And then we drove about an hour away into Kansas to stay with one of her friends. So let me tell you the story. Now that, I pieced it together when I was, when I say pieced it, I heard bits and pieces and now understand. My dad liked to paint little figurines, and I guess he was doing it in the basement near a furnace maybe, or a something electrical, and my mom was saying, you're going to catch the house on fire, but he didn't care and didn't listen, and she got freaked out and she took us. And I understand. I'm not saying she overreacted. And I remember we went to stay with her friend, and my mom literally we stayed there for like a week, and my mom would go to work in the morning and the friend didn't work, and this woman was like another parental figure, and she is just, if she ever watches this, which I'm sure she won't, thank you, you made me feel really safe and loved in a really chaotic time in my life. And I remember feeling that around, as kids, we can pick up on how something feels, and it's so weird to look back and know I was a depressed child. I was depressed. So my mom fought a bitter court battle to then decide she doesn't want to be a mom anymore. My mom did the most dangerous things. She would take me and my sibling, and she would drop us off somewhere at the ages of maybe 8 and 10, like the amusement park that was 45 minutes away, or the pool that was 20 minutes away, and we weren't allowed to come home. We had to stay there all day because she looked at that as babysitting, and she wanted away from us. I have stories of dangerous scenarios that put me and my sibling in that she ended up being mad at us for. 2 parents that fought tooth and nail and then didn't want anything to do with us in the end. And I think at the end of the day, it was all about money. It was all about child support. So I've been processing this for a few days, seeing the links, and it's really hard because I'm like, hey brain, why are you doing this? Like, what's the point? And I think I know what the point is. I'm a knowledge seeker and I'm a spiritual seeker. That's just who I am. That's, knowledge and that kind of thing fascinates me. People fascinate me. Psychology fascinates me. And I might not seem this way to you guys, but I'm a really analytical person. I'm always constantly analyzing people and things and situations in myself. Like, it's just something that's fun for me. And I'm constantly self-critical, self-analytical. I don't talk about it a lot. Maybe I do sometimes on the channel. I kind of explain my process, but such a hard video to film. And now I've lost my train of thought completely. Oh, I've been trying to analyze, why is this happening? Why is this coming up? Why am I remembering these things at 36 years old? And I think many times when you're in the process of healing an illness, you don't just heal your body, but I think part of healing your body is looking at your mind and your emotions. Not that that's going to fix anything, but I think many times those things go hand in hand, your health and your mental health and your physical health. And so I think as I get better and I'm able to be healthier and more clear, and I'm in a safe environment with a safe person, my brain says, okay, we can now allow you to see this and process this in chunks. And I was talking to Rumi about it, and I was like, what's the point? Like, what is even the point of having this go through this? And Rumi said, and it was perfect, he said, the point is you seek knowledge in your life and you seek to constantly understand yourself because you're seeking peace. So to see this is going to help you at some point find peace with it. And he's right. Every time I go through something like this, once I process it, once I digest it, once I understand it, and there's enough time that passes, I'm able to feel peace with it. Right now, I'm still really upset. I don't understand how two parents can do that to a kid. And the saddest part to me is that my story isn't unique. Sound off in the comments. How many of you went through this with your parents? And maybe not this specific thing, but similar. How many of them used you as pawns in a divorce? How many of you had to feel unsafe going back and forth between parents' households? I think it happened to a lot of us. By the way, I hope I'm not harping on the boomers. Hi, boomers. Hi, I love you. Many of you were great people. I'm just talking about some of the ones that weren't. That doesn't mean I'm saying that's all of you. And I hope you understand that. This isn't a judgment on that specific generation. I just know the majority of the people I grew up around, they had similar stories. But then again, maybe we just attracted each other because of our situations, right? Similar traumas. But I'm not, but then I knew some boomer parents that were fantastic. But yeah, I thought I would share it and tell you, if this happens to you or you go through this process where trauma's coming up and you're trying to figure stuff out, no matter how overwhelming it feels, no matter what it is, it's going to be okay. It will get better. Over this last week, I've been processing it. It's getting better. It's still hard. And it's going to be painful and it's going to suck. And you're going to have emotions come up you didn't know existed. And you're going to feel things you didn't know that you did. And that's okay. It's okay that you do. And it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry and even feel hopeless. This made me feel very hopeless. I'm like, oh, I was, screwed from the beginning because two people needed to use me for financial gain. But it gets easier. And when you get through it and when you get to the end of it, because I haven't done it with this, but I've done it with other things, there is a peace. And you look back and you go, you don't feel like you were a victim to it, even though you were. I'm not saying you weren't. You look back and go, look what I survived and look how strong I am. I am a bad A-B. And you can feel accomplished and feel good about it. And I feel like the more I understand my journey with how I grew up and what's happened to me, the more I can look back and go, I'm even more proud of myself for my successes because I see everything that was against me. And even with my successes, I get hard on myself. I didn't do better with things. Even if I was number one at something in the country or the world for something, I get really mad at myself. And I look back and I'm like, wow, not only did I accomplish, I was number one at what I was trying to do or accomplished big goals. I did it with these insurmountable challenges. I think I had two very selfish, immature parents, and they are still this way. I have approached my father about this. He pretends it didn't happen. He pretends it didn't happen. I know that it did. When I pushed him enough, one time he said, well, maybe your mother hired an actor. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't think so. No. They both play this game. And some of the negative boomers, not all the boomers, right? I hope you all understand that, but some of the negative boomers I know, just for instance, some of the millennials are super entitled, and I can't stand them, okay? I can't stand the entitled millennials. So, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to knock everybody, but that generation, they play this game, how to not take accountability and how to blame everybody else as much as you can in your life, period. And that's what both parents have done. Both parents have admitted at family gatherings in front of everybody, they should have never had children. They regret me and my sibling. Multiple times. Talk about soul crushing. And somehow my sibling is confused as to why I want nothing to do with anybody. It's sad. I that's the one person that could relate to with this stuff, but I don't think we could have a real conversation, unfortunately, because they're going to defend those actions or play it down or not remember it or act like they don't. I don't know, and I don't really care. And you know what's sad? They watch these videos. They watch this stuff. I'll never understand how I have two parents that know they have a very sick kid out there not doing very well. I mean, better than what I was. And they don't care. with my 2 dogs, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I'll cry, but I am such a mother hen. And I have gone above and beyond for those dogs, and I cannot imagine putting them in any situation to hurt them, to use them. Like, oh, it makes me want to throw up. How do you do that to your kids? But that's who they were. You know what? I have faith that this is coming up for a reason. I have faith. I have this ultimate faith that everything happens for a reason and there's good at the end, even if I can't see it in that moment or it's not what I want. And maybe I'm just going to hypothesize. This is how I look at things spiritually. You don't have to. Maybe before I came to earth, right, carnated into a body, that's just how I look at it, I chose to go through these things because I wanted to make sure that I never became the people that my parents were, that I understood how to not be that level of selfish. And hopefully I've achieved that, if anything. Because I never want to treat another human being like that. So if you can relate to this, let me know. Protect your privacy in the comments, but, share if it's happened to you. And if you think this video could help somebody going through it, be happy if you share it, because I'd love to help as many people as I could. I don't know if this was helpful to anybody, but yeah. People don't realize what our generation went through with the divorce stuff. They really don't get what it did to us psychologically. But hopefully in looking at all of this, hopefully in processing it, hopefully in learning from it, I'm going to become a stronger, happier person and a healthier person and learn how to have better relationships going forward if I'm lucky enough to do that. I'm going to end the video. It's been too long. That's the end of my 2-part little video. See, I don't know if you call this a series, but it's a 2-parter. If you watched both videos, you liked them, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. I do hugs, kisses, and hearts, but if I raise my arms like past this will just go up and it's gonna ruin what I've done, and I have to ask roommate. I'm like, roommate, help me pull it down in the back. But no, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have these sweater dresses. I've been waiting for like 6 years to get all these colors, and now I have all of these colors. I'm so happy. And all my new little clothes. I'm just so happy. And I'm so happy because like I'm not where I want to be yet, but oh my gosh, look at this compared to those other videos. I have shrunk and I'm continuing to shrink. I saw a video of me last month and I was looking at it going, oh, I'm not even as fat as I was then. So it's just nice to see the scale go down. It's like all this effort I put into fixing my health and being able to see my body come back is awesome. I'm praying that like in 6 months, around my birthday, I'd like to really look small again and feel like myself. But I'm going to be patient with my body. I have to give it time. My weight isn't about, at this point, it's not a calories in out thing. I mean, it is, yes, technically it is in general, but I mean, for me, I can have the perfect diet. It doesn't matter. It's what my health is doing. So I'm just going to let my body take its time and try to be respectful and as gentle with my body as I can. Okay, I'm going to go. Take care. To those who stood by and listened and understood, thank you. And if my family ever watches this, I hope they know I love all of you so much. And I know they watch these videos, so here's my message to them. I'm just deeply sad at what you've let happen and what you let go on and what you haven't apologized for, and I know you never will. And I know instead of apologizing, you'll have to say that I'm this horrible, terrible person. And that's what it is. And I live with that. And I just have to make peace with this is who they are. And they're gonna have to come to terms with this, if not with me one day. I just believe on some level, karma hits, even if it's when when we're no longer here and we have to look back at things and see things. I wish it could be before then, but some people sometimes are so unsafe for you. There are no more chances because your health and well-being come first. And if they continue to do things to make you unsafe, then you can't have that. And that's where I'm at. It sucks. I wish it wasn't that way, but it's not up to me. And I am not going to submit myself to any predators. And they're going to protect the predators. That's what they're going to do. That's what the people in my family are going to do. So take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.